I'm here in Norristown with the Eagle News team, here to check out the Blockson exhibit at the Central Theater. We're gonna go inside, see what's in there, see what everything's about, and yeah.
Cool shot of that photo. That photo is from mid 1930s, and what's exciting about this photo is you have a white girl and a black girl holding hands. In this photo, these are things that did not happen in our country at this time, which was super exciting because Norristown was always a melting pot. Even though it had segregation, a lot of people that stand here, including Mr. Blockson, his best friend growing up was Mr. Bob Butera, all the way up until he passed away. When Harriet Tubman's grannies wanted to donate Harriet Tubman's artifacts, she donates it to someone like Charles Blockson, who's a preserver of African American history. What made him start his mission actually started at Stewart Middle School when he had a substitute teacher tell him they were learning about Abraham Lincoln and George Washington, and he said, what about African American history? And he was told by that teacher that blacks do not have a place in history, that their place in history is to serve white people. So he made it his mission from that day to go on and learn as much as he could and preserve as much as he could, which he did all the way up until last year when he passed away.
Throughout the tour, it became apparent that we only touched the tip of the iceberg of what history resided in this place. But to really understand all the history, literature, and art, we had to interview Alzone, the man behind everything.
Hi, my name is Naima, and I'm here with Mr. Alzone in the Blockson exhibit to kind of figure out what's going on here. Tell us about the Wood Park Zoo, and Mr. Alzone, nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Super excited.
Tell me a bit about yourself.
It's a great question to start with, especially because I'm born and raised in Norristown. I'm a graduate of the Norristown school system. I met Mr. Blockson in a classroom, which was super exciting, which motivated me to do this exhibit. Mr. Robbins, he's not involved with the school district anymore, I don't think. I think he retired. He used to be a guidance counselor, and I think he was a principal at one of the schools, but he was my social studies teacher. He brought Mr. Blockson to our school when I was in 10th grade. It was funny because he led by saying that he doesn't believe in Black History Month. He believes that every month is Black History Month. He gave me something that I remember my whole life. And then when I got the opportunity to see him later, it was about building this exhibit to preserve his work. So, Mr. Blockson was in his 80s. When we did the interview, he was suffering from Parkinson's at the time, so it was hard for him. But I got to tell you, when he came here, he came to life, and it put a whole new life into him, which we were super excited about. Every one of the books behind you, Mr. Blockson was a collector of books. This is one of his personal libraries. But everything in this reading room, he has touched. He has written in. They have notes in the books, which is exciting. So that's why we keep it roped off, because they're all so important. He's written 16 books. He was the first African American featured on National Geographic, which is exciting, and we have that book inside as well. Books like he loves poetry. He owned the first book. This is not it, it's inside. He has the first book ever written from an African American woman. She was a slave at the time, Phyllis Wheatley, and it's autographed by her. Book's value is over $1 million, which is pretty exciting. He would say that the reason why he didn't die rich or a millionaire when some of his artifacts, some of his books, some of the stuff that he owns are priceless. Millions of dollars. I was telling you about the Phyllis Wheatley book. He didn't sell stuff to the Smithsonian. He put it on loan because he said it did not belong to him, it belonged to his people. Very few people today do that. A lot of people care about themselves more than they care about others, or they care about the history. How this happened for me was being moved as a student in the Norristown School District. I got an opportunity to have Mr. Blockson speak. Did not see him again for years. He spoke to me in 10th grade in high school in Mr. Robbins' history class. And then I saw him again, I think it was 2016. He had an exhibit at the Montgomery County Courthouse, which is the image behind me. He had an exhibit at the Montgomery County Courthouse of African-American law enforcement. And I saw him at that exhibit, and he asked me how I could help him find a spot in the zoo to preserve his legacy and preserve what he did here in his hometown. There wasn't a spot to put this in the zoo. This is 4,000 square feet to be able to preserve a portion of what he has. The main exhibit is at Temple. He has another exhibit as well at Penn State where he went to school. But for me, it was about building this exhibit to celebrate him. His other facilities really celebrate the books and the artifacts of what he has done and what he has collected over the years. For me, it was to talk more about Mr. Blockson in his hometown. You know, it's exciting for me that the school was most recently named after Mr. Blockson. A individual who has dedicated his life to preserving history, to reading, writing, collecting books. He talks about he was collecting books at a time where it wasn't really right for African Americans to read and write. It's exciting to see what he had to overcome. And when I walk through his archives with Dr. Turner and Leslie Willis and his daughter, Noelle, when I walk through his archives and I see how much he's done and what he's accomplished throughout his lifetime, it makes me think that I haven't even started to work. And I know I've done a lot, but at the same time, to see what motivated him when everything else was pushing him down, that's enough to make anyone want to build something like this to honor what Mr. Blockson has done for us.
Okay. You said that he was writing books. What is this book?
So this is Blam, Black Lives Always Mattered, and this is here at our exhibit now. It's a comic book, which is exciting because even though Mr. Blockson was in his 80s at the time he did this, he knew that he needed to be different in order to connect with young individuals, right? Young individuals are the future of what's coming. So this is awesome. It's done by great comic artist Eric Battle, who actually is coming to our facility here. It was instrumental in creating the illustrations in the book, and then Mr. Blockson created the writings around the great individuals that made it up. He is today the steward of the Underground Railroad. There's 13 locations here in Norristown alone that were stops on the Underground Railroad. So again, the man dedicated his world to preserving history, our history, all of our history, not just African American history, but all of our history.
From all of the artifacts in this exhibit, what do you think the biggest takeaway from this is?
The biggest takeaway for me for the exhibit is, and this is probably the best interview that I've done in this space, and I've done some great ones, but why I say that is this is going to show in front of the Norristown students. Yes. The best takeaway for me for this exhibit is to look at an individual who is struggling and fighting through the same things and different things that we're struggling through today, and what he was able to accomplish, to have an exhibit, a school named and built after him. This exhibit was built in his lifetime. Normally that stuff comes when someone passes. That's motivation enough. It's motivation enough to know that someone has done something so great and is recognized all over the world. More people know about Mr. Blockson throughout the world and throughout the United States than we know about him in our own town, and I think that's important. This is an original bill of sale of when a young lady was sold into slavery at 3 years of age. It's very emotional, but this is a receipt. This is when she was sold.
From a personal standpoint, as a student that actually went to Blockson that was previously known as Stewart, I don't know, I just find this exhibit very meaningful, kind of looking into a bit of his life, remembering him and everything. I don't know, I find this book really interesting.
We were lucky to have him in our lifetime. We need to take advantage of that. You need to take advantage of the work that he has done. You know, everything today is done on the cell phone. everything. But there's just something about picking up a book, understanding the history of it. We have a reading room in the exhibit here, and when I hold the same book that he held and he wrote notes in and he put newspaper clippings in it as to what was happening in his lifetime, it just moves you differently. It's a place of history, and Mr. Blockson's helped preserve that for us.
The exhibit also gives Black artists in the area the chance to display their art, continuing the traditions of Blockson by displaying Black excellence.
Tell everyone you know about how great this man was and what he did to preserve our history, and come check out the exhibit.
Thank you for letting us come here, letting the students kind of see what's going on in this exhibit. I appreciate you sharing your information. Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And again, please come and enjoy it. It's free to students. You know, you don't have to come with the school group. You can come on your own. It's open every weekend. So please come and enjoy it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.